Hi, good evening, everyone. We are glad to be here on another Friday evening, the Youth War Talk team. And we're looking like a team tonight, you know. Last week things were a little grim, but we're here in full force this evening. I'm glad to see you guys.
Yes.
Kern. Dwayne, I haven't seen you in a while. Glad to see you.
I haven't seen you in a while either.
You've been hiding.
Since you tied in that time, I haven't seen you.
Dwayne, you saw me 1 week. And then you went on vacation.
I glimpsed you 1 week.
You said we weren't good enough for you, and you went on vacation. So that is what is going on.
Hold on.
But
so
you know, we're here.
Are we lying on the Sabbath now?
We're here. Well, your actions spoke louder than your words.
No, hold on. We didn't say actions. They said I said. But anyway, you know what, guys? Let's not be like Kadisha tonight.
We're not gonna let Dwayne distract us from what I want to say. You know. I'm sitting next to a big man.
Yes.
Yes. Right now he's the biggest man because he's the newest man, the freshman on the scene.
What's going on?
Mr. Kashifness. Yes. Put the respect on his name. You know, congratulations, Kashif, on your marriage.
Thank you very much.
May God continue to bless you all richly.
Thank you.
Yes.
Congratulations, my congratulations.
But we're here and we're glad to be in your presence. Happy Sabbath. Welcome. I don't know how your week was, but we're here to have fun in the Lord. And before we get into this evening's program, I'm going to ask Dwayne to say a word of prayer for us.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. We want to thank you for your grace and your mercy. We want to ask for your forgiveness for wherever we have fallen short, for the thoughts, words, or doings of this prayer not be hindered. I pray that whatever we discuss here this evening, that it will be unto your honor, glory, and the uplifting of your name, and for the furtherance of your gospel. Those that are listening, I pray that it inspires them to be drawn closer to you. In your name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
So, a couple weeks ago, not weeks, but years, a couple years ago, it made echoes around the world. Persons who weren't speaking English and all knew the word. That word is entanglement.
Oh,
yeah. I know. Yeah.
And a couple years, but it made, it sent shockwaves throughout the land. And tonight we're dealing with entanglement, biblical entanglement. So, can anybody remember how this word gained its, I would say, notoriety? Entanglement. Anybody remember the story behind it?
I really can't tell.
Jeez.
Like I was really.
I think Mrs. Smith.
That's right.
Mr. Oslin or Oslin.
Listen, we are YouTube. You gotta be careful what you're saying.
You can say Mrs. Smith. Yeah.
Mrs. Smith had an entanglement with a prominent R&B singer.
Okay.
They were in a extramarital relationship. And they were at a certain.
So, but what I'm hearing, well, for Dwayne, you would have expounded on the physical, the touches, the messages, but you said it started in the mind. Why do you think it begins in the mind? Because there is this theory that for women, an affair starts in your mind, but for men don't think about it.
I don't subscribe.
Do you agree with that?
I don't subscribe.
That's what the thing is. Women cheat in their mind, but men cheat physically. And so we're gonna start there, and then I'm gonna add something to it.
I guess women are exonerated.
I think it's heavy on women because if you're saying that.
Okay.
Let me hear you, Kun.
It's not that men don't think about it. It's just that the processes are different.
Okay.
Correct.
Right? For a female, I ain't talking for all men, but generally, if men want to do a fling, they do a fling. No feelings attached, nothing. The girl just look nice, might just be a physical thing, and that is it. Right? Females, on the other hand, there has to be some emotion involved in there, some kind of attraction to the man, some kind of thing, right? And it has been said that it's worse from a female perspective. If you are guys, like if she's emotionally invested in somebody, is actually worse than she actually going out with the guy or even having sex with him. So that's how I view it. And then a lot of persons would have shared, the same sentiments in that for guys, generally, is that no emotions is involved in it. So it's like, it's easy for a guy do it and then just, I'm not saying that is right, just do it and go back to his spouse. But then for a female, she has already written off, so it's like, I'm not doing this, this is where my emotion, this is where I feel whatever I want to feel with this person, I'm no longer my spouse.
Okay.
I disagree with Kern's perspective, where he said that for a woman is so versus a man. Listen, the truth is, if a woman come to a young man and she just wants him for the sex, but he's invested, the same will be true for him. However, what I believe happens is that men will be more physically attracted to the physique. Women, to appeal to them, it is much more than just your physique, right? But when it comes to adultery and wanting to have extramarital affairs or just a fling or one night stands or whatever you want to call it, it just based on the person, because there are women who just as notorious as men are. It's not as popular. That doesn't mean that it's not done. I am just one of them who's of the view that women were just more tactful with how they get their things done. That's just my view. It's not battle of the sexes, by the way. Just say, that's just my perspective. Right, brother?
But,
what I share is my opinion, and that is just generally
The general
what has
opinion.
been said. Even studies would have shown that as well. So, but then I hear you. I hear you.
But to answer the question directly from Kadisha, right, is a text here, a popular text, right? And this is Christ speaking here, right, Jesus, from Matthew chapter 5, verse 28, right? And it says, "But I say unto you, that whosoever looketh on a woman to lust after her, had committed adultery with her already in his heart." Right? So as being said, it starts in his mind or the heart, whatever. Same thing, right? The mind. So whether it's a man or a woman, it doesn't really matter. As long as you look at someone with the intent or have that sexual intentions, probably planning in your head, or what you're going to do if you get a chance. You know what I mean? You already committed adultery.
You already.
In God's sight.
Well, there are some persons who believe that I never had sex. I never wanted to, well, from the female perspective. I never had sex with them. I don't intend to have sex with them, but I go to them for all my problems because my husband isn't available. So I go to this person who is friendly. I tell him my problems. He helps me to get through different things. Do you all, as men, do you all see that as her cheating on her husband?
It depends. I'll tell you why it depends.
It doesn't depend.
Hold on.
No, but that's his for his wife.
No, wait. Hold on. Who's answering, me or you?
It's cheating.
All right, good. I'm answering now. Right? And my perspective is that
Everybody will tell us perspective, and then we're gonna tell the real. You know.
It depends. For instance, right? What if the gentleman is your brother, a pastor, right? And not just that. There are just some people, some females that have male friends. But I don't. It's okay to the extent that the gentleman would give good advice, and not only that he respects the fact that it's two people that are married and would send them back to work their things out. Not that he would always be accommodating, because it is wrong to foster that kind of environment, whether it be with a friend or whatever. Like, because even if it's a relative, you go and you tell your relative what happened, they build up a certain perspective of what the partner might be in their mind. The couple might work things out, and they still have the perspective on their mind. But when it comes to like people who are not related and things, it really depends for me. And it depends to the extent that, to what extent is it, how frequent it happens, right? And I am just of the view that couples are capable of handling and dealing with their situations. They just have to take their time.
Okay.
Yeah,
So Kern disagreed with you from the get-go, so let's hear what Kern is saying.
Even in looking at this, and why I say it doesn't matter, in that if you look into the book, and I wish I had taken down those scripture because it's like in Jeremiah, right, where he talks about Israel committing adultery and taking things light with certain aspects of their life and these kind of things. God was making it very, very clear that, and we did this of having no other God before me, is that no matter what you're going through.
Can I jump in the gun, but go ahead.
But jump in the gun?
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
That's where I went. When the question came, that's where I went.
Okay.
In order to answer, you have to go to the spiritual aspect. Right? That is for me, it's like you can't get it because it's basically when God says that if you're baptized and you say, I am your God, regardless of what you're doing, you're supposed to come to me. Nobody else.
What if it's about you?
Come to me. And you see, that is the thing, that if we have to trickle from marriages, we have to reflect of how God operates with us as well. So that's the same thing in there, right? In marriages, you're going to have some uncomfortable conversations. But even within those uncomfortable conversations, if you realize that there's merit, right? For whatever reason, you look forward to another uncomfortable conversation.
Correct. I like that though. Yeah,
you understand? Because you're trying to better yourself and you're trying to better your spouse. You're trying to be better for yourself and for your spouse.
For each other.
So if there is problems going on there and you choose not to come to deal with it with your spouse, but you go by somebody else to deal with it, of course it is. Because it's like you're telling, and you go back to your relationship with God. It's like, God, use the problem and I can't talk to you, so I go into somebody else. And that is cheating on God. So it's the same way that I would say that if you cannot, no. The reality is that sometimes you may have to, and even with that, the person that you have to speak to, you mustn't be giving them a kind of too much of information and a one-sided kind of thing. Even if you go to them, it's like, probably you're not ready yet to have the conversation with your spouse. You go to that person, but you go into that person with the intention of venting, but not to share too much of information, because your intention, hopefully, should be to come back to deal with your spouse. That is why I said that it is cheating if you say you want to go and have the conversation outside and this kind of stuff, right? So in that way, right, spiritually, it's adultery.
Right. I think what Dwayne was explaining and what you are explaining, you all were kind of explaining two different sides of, the discussion. Dwayne, you were looking at it from a general perspective. And Kurt was looking at it from an intimate perspective, as in, this is somebody who can. And I think the difference is somebody who can be, or who is an eligible mate. So, for instance, as you mentioned brother auntie, you wouldn't look for your brother to have but you're not supposed to have a sexual relationship with your brother.
I probably didn't understand. But okay.
But I love how because it was still advice, right? But say for instance, me and all of you all are good. If I realize that there is a connection between me and you all, myself as a married woman should not go to you all for help.
For help, right.
Because I know as long as there's a seed, the seed can be grown. So if I know there's an attraction, I should not go to you all, because obviously I will go to you all from a biased perspective, a perspective that there is already some connection, some ropes being pulled within us. So if you hear, then you're going to be like, oh, the marriage on the rocks, boy. Let me just stay close and maybe one day we can be together. It may not start off as that, but what I often realize is when whoever helps you, the bond between you and that
Correct.
person
Increases.
increases.
Yes, that's true.
And it makes it more difficult for you all to be, and I guess that is how Mrs. Smith's one would have started.
And then how it started
Yes.
out? How it started out?
Who's Mrs. Smith?
Em-
Oh.
He said, explain.
Oh, sorry.
emotional.
Mm-hmm.
Emotions.
And
That is what was mixed up. in
Yes.
it, Right? And then that happens as well when you don't set boundaries. It's like this is like and a lot of us when we grow, even for some of us we might be doing the thing and then realize, but wait, this is not what I'm supposed to be doing. And then you realize you need to make a change. And people who used to go to supposed to come to the point of understanding and respecting your decision of probably changing the dynamics of the friendship. Because you can go down a particular road. And that is the reality, right? In that, and we're not justifying adultery in any way, but then sometimes it doesn't be the intention,
Yeah, but it just happens.
but it could happen
Yeah.
because
The environment.
boundaries, not the environment, the boundaries were
Your
set,
boundaries, yes.
right? Because if a female a wife gets comfortable talking to another man that is not a husband, that is problems, right?
Vice versa.
Yeah, vice versa. Because for me, I tell people, for me, there are certain individuals, certain females.
You will not, you cannot.
I no. Phone conversation, even with phone conversation, there's a cutoff point and
Yeah,
time.
yes,
you
yes,
understand me?
Yeah.
And then some of them will be like, but me, I see nothing. I said, that's not the point. I said, I need to protect myself and my house, right? And then I respect females because I have single female friends that be like, by this time here, like, I ain't taking a phone call, right? No, we are good, we are friends. But the thing is that there is nothing in my mind. There's nothing in their mind. But at the same time, we never know what could happen.
Correct.
Because there is no attraction in any form or way. We're just friends. But then that could, you setting it up. Morning time is like, hey, call. No. Call me during the day. Because I know how my day does be in the morning. I know how it does be. So we have to put these kind of things in place. So, we would not open any avenue for anything to happen.
But we question, I think I need some clarity on the question, right? Are we talking about only like attraction to someone else, or like a marital problem and you talk about it, or we're talking about just normal everyday conversations with somebody else?
And that is all. That is a good question.
That is, yeah.
Because
Yeah.
there are some people, they can't have, I can't tell my spouse about my day. They're not interested.
Yeah.
So I go on, and a lot of people, they go on social media and they will look, and then somebody DM, they start to talk normal, how was your day and thing, and then you have a whole, it's like, you basically have a relationship with the person because that person knows everything about you, and your spouse doesn't know anything about you. And I was wondering, what also makes a difference? Is it normal? Let me get the right words. So I am talking to somebody. I think it's normal. But when my spouse sees that I'm speaking to that person, they have a problem with it.
Stop.
Come again?
Does it mean that does the perspective of your spouse change the fact that whether it is adultery or not adultery?
Come again?
Yeah.
So I am speaking to this person. I think it's normal because I don't have any of those feelings towards the person. But my spouse just say, oh, you're talking to our next one, or you're talking to our next man, you're cheating on me. But in my head, I'm not cheating because it's just regular conversations. Does the fact that your spouse have a problem with it make it adultery? Or it's still not adultery because you don't see it as adultery?
No. Again,
That's a hard question.
I'm trying to understand it. What is
Intention.
the nature?
Exactly.
What is the nature of the conversation?
No, just normal.
No, but
Monday
just
morning.
Normal conversation.
Right.
In your head, it's
And on a friend
normal how your
basis,
day go,
so-
if you're good.
So here's my perspective on those situations, right? If your brother asks, your brother will give him stone. And that's to say, protect, as you couldn't alluded to earlier, protect the integrity of your home, right? At the same time, it is your responsibility to reassure your husband,
That's right.
right? Because the truth is, he might be acting out of past experiences, past traumas, but it's your responsibility to reassure them, and at the same time, reassure your spouse to the extent that, hey, there's nothing here, right? Because the truth is, even if you're married, you should be allowed to form relations and relationships with other people, even of the opposite sex. But as Kern said earlier, boundaries. Boundaries are really important.
But it's in two things, right? Correct, the boundaries is important, but you see when you mention persons having that past trauma, and think, well, because she talked with a man, she cheating, that has to be resolved with that person by themselves, individually. Because if she talking to somebody and she has been get vexed for that, I don't see the problem with that. You know, something probably wrong with his vision. I don't know. Right? No, because I mean,
with his understanding of what is going on.
Yeah, because it doesn't mean that you're cheating or you're being unfaithful or anything, right? But and this question, I saw something recently about marriage, right? And they put a question. They said, if you had a job, right, and the job or your boss requested of you to be the front desk clerk, to be the financial accountant, to be the cleaner, to be the auditor, right? What would you say to that?
Yeah, pay me accordingly.
You could be all them things.
It's not possible, right? So, and I think sometimes in marriage we expect our spouse to be everything to us.
Yeah.
And it's just not possible. And I'm not saying, but at the same time you have to still have boundaries, right? There are certain things you can't carry outside of marriage. But if they have a friend that they play football with, or they play games with,
go to church with,
that is fine, because for me personally, there are certain things that I do like to do with a female. You see, shopping and like I kind of vibes, I will and I'm kind of vibes. So if she finds somebody to go shopping with, that ain't not a problem. You know
so
I mean?
if she has a guy to go shopping with, you'll be okay with that? Because they say if she finds somebody, most of the time when they say somebody is female, but if she has a male, if she goes shopping with a male, wouldn't it be a problem for you?
Well, I don't know, it depends, but the point is, right? Yeah, I guess that's what I want to say. Right?
But the thing with that is this.
They just finish your point.
No, finish.
We just look at other person's perspective. We said you had your perspective and he had his perspective. And what is necessary is for both parties to sit down to see each other's perspective.
That's right.
And have an understanding of what is really going on. Right? And if there is trauma or whatever, and the thing is that if the female is considerate, the wife is considerate about her husband, and possibly there is some hurt that she would have caused previously, she should now be very careful about how she interacts with other people, because it could bring back to her, it might be nothing, but to him it is something that could affect him. And the reality is that nothing is there. But we know as human beings, our perception is our reality. Right? So now you have to change that perception. Right? And that is where it's key, is that, there's nothing wrong with that, it's not a big deal. But then we have to now be considerate about the individual that is in the mix.
Okay, what do you think about someone being, or as we normally say, insecure? They have issues, trust issues.
Somebody who's insecure is not supposed to get married.
Exactly.
And they're in a marriage.
No, it's gonna be
but it happens all the time. It happens all the time.
Prevalent
but that causes a lot of problems in marriage.
And unfortunately, the person who is insecure refuses to get help.
That's what I'm saying.
Right? And for me, and even dealing with this is like, I know when I in my younger years, apparently I'm real old now according to Kadisha. Right? There was I remember this couple, the guy highly insecure. I know my personality is real outgoing. Now, once you're married, I don't touch, I don't hug, nothing. I don't do that. You're married, outer bounds. For me, right? Individually. Like at that point in time, it's like, I don't think that a married woman, a single guy, I don't think that we're supposed to be hugged. People say nothing wrong with this. For me, that was my stance. The guy, and talking to her and this kind of stuff, and she used to share about how the husband is and this kind of stuff. And I was like, because we are around the same age and they were married for a while. I was like, well, just want to talk to the man and or go and get the help and this kind of stuff and whatever.
Yeah.
So, and the thing about her is that every conversation she has with everybody, she goes back and tells the husband. Right? Yeah.
That's her mechanism to...
Because she knows how insecure he feels. So literally every conversation, he knows everything about her day, everything that is going on, and this kind of stuff. And for some reason, like for her, that's her way of dealing with it. But for him, he's like, he didn't believe. So when I was telling her, I said, yeah, just go and talk to him. And I was like, hey, if you need help, go and get the help you need, whatever. And if he wants to, you know, he can talk to me and I can direct him to where you want to go and this kind of stuff. Because I was still studying at that point in time. She go back and tell him. He reaches me and we are having a conversation and he didn't say directly that what she told him, but we're having a conversation and he's going back and forth and then I'm realizing that the questions that he's asking are very probing questions. So I was like, oh, I didn't think much of it. And then afterwards now, I was like, well, you know, you can want to talk to Dr. So-and-so, they will help you wherever. He went, and eventually, when he started, and then he got very open with her, and then she would just come and say, is it okay? Because I didn't even know how impactful it was these years after they would have told me, it's like how impactful it was. Because like, I just did my bit and I go on my business, right? But then he started to open up with her and started to tell her about things that happened in his past and his parents and what was going on there and how they used to treat him and all the kind of life they lived, blah, 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 blah. So he had to get healing from that process. And then he never stopped to say that he's very appreciative of how his wife was and how he treated her. Because she understood. Like she understood and she just, this is my way of dealing with it until he realizes he needed help. And that is how we have to strive to operate from the point of view, not that everybody would, right? Because some people just think that they're ready for marriage. And then when they get into it, they realize, this is not for me. This can't be for me.
But don't you think like there comes a point with every married couple where you feel like, I wonder if I was ready, boy. Because it's two people interacting. So at some point, you're going to have collisions. And you're going to be like, and I heard you're going to be like, you know, was I really ready? But I remember Pastor Snell was saying, he was talking about relationships, and they were saying that sometimes that is the point that leads to your marriage going to the next level. You see, when you come into confrontations and stuff, and you all do, but you do the work, after you do the work, it's so much better because you would have aired how you're feeling, and you all mentioned it, conversation. I can only know what you expect if you tell me. So when we had this situation where one person, I talking to this person normal, is just a regular friend, but you seen it as cheating, I will only know you're seeing it as cheating if you tell me. Because some persons, as you said, the boundaries are a bit more loose. I don't want to say loose, but it's different, you know, based on past experiences and stuff. But it's only when we converse, I can know, okay, you probably had a partner that cheated on you, so you're a little bit more guarded for your ladies because you don't want to go in the same situation, especially for a wife. I got married to you, I gave you, you know, a vow, and I don't want this to break up. I don't want us to break up. So what I'm seeing you doing is kind of like you're tempting yourself, and I'm trying to shield you from the temptation so that we can work. And Sherlon said it in the chat. He said, you know, I also think there is full trust in each other. When persons has a friend outside the marriage or relationship would not break the couples. So after we converse, we build our trust. I can tell you, you know, it's just a childhood friend. We never had anything. We just speak. I just want to know how he's going. He probably single, you know, and he don't really have anybody else to talk to. So we just talk normal, casual, and stuff like that. Then your husband can understand, okay, this is not a threat. And you all can move forward and the trust can be built.
I also think too, it's really incumbent on the both of both parties in relation, or people in relationships, to also be mindful of your interactions. Now, sometimes it's a lot of thought, but practice makes permanent. You have to. No, for me, I'm a very charismatic one already, and kind. Sometimes too kind, and that does rub people in good ways too much sometimes, and it attracts.
Well, you need to be plain. So it normally rubs the person you're with. Sometimes it rubs them in a wrong
for instance,
way.
let me be.
Yeah, be
blunt,
plain.
Right? No, if because of my charisma, a lot of females would be
attracted to you,
right? And because I'm kind, I would really go out of my way for anybody. It doesn't matter. But I had to always be mindful at the extent to which I go and how I speak, how I interact, because you don't want unwanted attractions from persons, especially if you're in a relationship with somebody.
Yes.
Because you don't want to be seen as you're overly flirtatious or flirtatious. You're too accommodating or too inviting. Because even if it's just a friend, there are certain things that I wouldn't do unless I know that my
lady
is fully aware of
right.
everything. And if she's not comfortable with certain interactions, I wouldn't do it at all.
Right.
Right. So like as Kun would mention, like sometimes hugging, the touching. There's some interactions that should be very guarded, even if it doesn't, in your mind, it don't mean nothing, right? So it is important as well. And while we were talking earlier, creating an environment where these things could lead to adultery is also important. And we began with sharing of issues with persons. We really have to be careful with that, because when the more you share, it's like the person that gives the listening ear is like the hero. So you naturally attraction could just be built in, and things just happen, So we have to be careful of our interactions and how accommodating we are, and also be mindful of how your partner is. And it's okay to seek counseling. That's good. I don't know why we just run from that. Can you sponsor me?
I wanna jump in. I wanna
go ahead.
Transition or just kind of twist it a little bit. The conversation, because in looking at this, I asked the question: why was adultery? It says, "Thou shalt not," and adultery is the word that was used. But then the Bible also speaks of fornication. So it's like, why adultery, and not or a broader word that probably would encompass, because we know adultery, the simplest term is either party in the extramarital affair to be married, and fornication.
Before marriage,
right? Fornication is single people. So I was battling with that in my mind, and then I found, and I was reading, and it's like, it says that, because I was thinking that adultery is a part of fornication, right?
Okay, you were,
right. So I was thinking that adultery is part of fornication, because in the Bible, fornication also means sexual immorality. So it's like a lot of other things outside. So it's not just sex.
But I saw sexual immorality, fornication, adultery under sexual immorality.
Right. Right. But then I looked at it and it's like, we know that God considers marriage important. We know that God considers marriage, the sanctity of marriage, very important. So when I looked at it, and then it's like, the reading says, and I found this is like, if you are sexually active before marriage, you are breaking the 7th commandment. Some will say, but I am not married. You are actually committing adultery against the person that you will marry, and building obstacles that you will have to overcome after you are married.
I don't agree with it. No.
right? So,
I thought they were going to go in the direction that if you have sex before marriage, you're committing adultery against God.
right. No, but of course.
Because I would see
we
from that
understand
perspective.
but the context what I was looking at is the whole idea of marriage. Yes, we know that it's against God, but also you're actually against the person. And it's like that perspective for me, it brings in the perspective that if you see that what you are doing in your singleness
will affect
you later down the road, it actually might help you to not go that direction. Because the reality is, and this is so true, that obstacles you have to overcome a lot of those things if you have sexual partners for marriage. Because when you get into the marriage, you come with the expectations, you come with the experience, you come with all kind of things, and then if your spouse is not up to mark of what to expect there, it is very easy for you now to actually go and have an adulterous relationship because the certain things that you're looking for, your spouse is not giving it to you. One more thing. So in reality, you're an adulterer before you even get married. Because when you get married, you're just going on the same, you just continue the same route. You know?
Based on what you say, before you ask your question is to think?
Yes,
right.
defense.
So, on your explanation, what was coming to my mind, no matter if you're single or you're married, God is still on top.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right? And you said that when you're single, thinking about, how you would affect your future spouse may deter you. But ultimately, it's supposed to be God who deters you.
Agreed.
Because if your connection with God, if the vow that you have with God is strong, then it will cover you in and outside of marriage. Because I am committed to God, that will keep me from fornicating because I know that will break my vow with Him. The same way, but just in marriage, you have two vows. I will stay committed to my spouse because I made a vow to them and God.
Right.
And I made the vow in front of God, so God is holding me to this particular, and that is what will keep you from going outside. Because we know people don't really keep us from, people don't keep us from doing anything we want to do. But you see, once you have a higher standard, that is what really helps to maintain your morality and your vows to the vows that you've made. But that is just what. So good one. Good one.
So true.
All right. So we've been here about half an hour now. All right, and we're talking about nice biblical, textbook scenarios and so on. Right, but a real scenario now, right? So a married couple. And the woman or the man, right? Doesn't matter who, but one person says they don't like sex, right? And they know they have no sex. They like clothes, that is it.
All right.
And the other partner says they want sex, right? They have a sex drive and so on. So what happens in that scenario?
I think the person but first of all,
that
was a conversation that was supposed to be had before marriage.
So
but then again,
things change.
But then again, I'm pulling that back.
Let me give
because sometimes you don't know what your sex drive is gonna be. Sometimes we think that desire. Sometimes what happens? Sometimes you correlate. Sometimes you correlate sexual desire before marriage to be your sexual desire after marriage.
True.
Because for two persons who have never had sex before, what you thought would be can be different. And for the woman, because you say like clothes, I would think that just
I
just want some clarity.
What happens? It could be after they would have experienced sex. Something fell short. As in, why you're...
No.
I'm just trying to explain. Yes, something fell short in terms of either it was a traumatic experience for one out of the persons, or they just need that thing. Right?
Okay,
I just want to ask Kashi something.
I am finished, guys.
Oh, sorry.
Right? So I would say that couple needs to go to counseling. They need to go to counseling so they will get why is your sex drive low and why is your thing, and the counselor will help them to meet in the middle, because maybe they just have to schedule sex. And people hear schedule sex and they think it's terrible, but schedule sex will work for
No, but what I'm saying, right? Okay,
for
yes.
other parties, right?
They could have sex, but suppose she's like down there just like a starfish or whatever.
Maybe
No,
some people
It
like
would be
starfish and so.
passionate. It would be passionate.
No, the thing
passion.
is,
No, I want to ask because
go ahead.
based on your question, what do you mean she don't know sex at all, or she just
It's
the one in the
low, it's
moment,
low.
or she or in comparison
No,
to yours, none at all.
Listen, I have seen
No,
scenarios. I've seen people real. This is real stuff here.
Yes. And
Okay, I know if they got married, they got a child, and after the child's birth, that was it. No more sex for 6 years.
because the hormone
Yeah.
6
imbalance,
years.
there's a lot of
That was
things
it.
that go on.
Yeah.
You know, but
So
as
it
I say,
happens.
counseling and doctors, because maybe the hormonal levels are off, so the testosterone level is not high enough to give them a high enough sex drive, because you know your testosterone level. That's why males tend to have a higher sex drive than women, because their testosterone levels are higher. So maybe either the female or the male,
Yeah, what do you mean?
their levels are too low and they may need hormone help and stuff like that. So there's a lot of things that you have to discuss, but that still doesn't say that you are right to go outside.
But I don't think. Well, I mean,
I never
that's-
No,
said
if
that's
you
what
talk
I'm saying.
about adultery,
Exactly,
you brought
that's
the
what I'm
person
saying.
up, and some
But the
persons
thing
think
is-
that if my
but the
wife or
thing
my
is-
husband are giving
no,
me, I could get somewhere
no.
else.
I'll be the devil's advocate, pun intended here, right? That we have a tendency that a lot of people, even Christians, say that they must test drive before you buy, right? And then in these kind of scenarios, say like, you know, if you didn't test drive it, you would have know if you would have, and this kind of stuff. We're not saying that is right.
That is not right.
It's not
No,
right.
we're not saying
It's
that is
right.
not
We're not
right.
saying that. Eh?
Point
We're not
blank,
saying that.
period.
We're not saying that. It's just that some people would use this as a justification, right? But the thing is that the conversation need to be in depth when it comes to that.
Yes.
It's not
surprises.
supposed to be a kind of a push aside kind of conversation that when you reach that bridge you go cross it kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely
Because
not.
the reality, right?
Sex is a big thing in marriage.
The reality is that most of us, right? And I mean, we was talking about this off air some time ago. Most of us, and I might even be so bold to say all of us, once we make up our mind that this is the person I'm about to get married to, in our mind we don't start to think about what might happen and what's going to happen and how it got be the first night and this kind of stuff. Even though, you know, we haven't been sexually active before the marriage. So it's like we waiting. You have a level of anticipation, right? And of course, your mind start to go crazy. And then, of course, if the expectations fall short,
It will
right?
give
It
up,
would
yeah.
give a damper. But at the same time, if the conversations would have happened
Before.
in regards to expectation, because I have a couple that the female had no expectations when it came to sex. None. She don't even know what she liked when she was still like. She gets into the marriage, married, and then the question is asked again, and she's like, well, whenever you feel free to just get it. And it's like, so he's being the bold-faced person that I am.
So it's just for him.
Right? So being the bold-faced person that I am, so I say, so they only know each other. He's like, well, whenever, so I was like, you do, and she's like, well, I mean, and then she had to think about it.
Oh Lord.
Right?
But and this is
And then, so for
counseling.
me, exactly. So for me,
Counseling.
so for me, it's like, okay, it's a problem because I talking to the husband, and the
And he
husband,
loving it.
the husband, boy, I do, boy, if you hear how I behaved last night, boy, and real big man, I was like, so I listening to him, and then the wife is like,
it's alright.
yeah,
Right.
right? No, you're telling me that. I say, you know what? Or you need to have a conversation.
conversation.
Right? Because what you are saying and what he's saying is two totally different things. So you need to have a conversation and figure out what is really going on there. Right? No. You know the man is even before I spoke to them, I was like, hey, so where's the plan? Where's the plan? He's like, well, no, we ain't talking about that. I said, why not? Why are we talking about that for? And for some of us, even as Christians, because it's outside, we're not doing the act We're just speaking about what is our expectation after the marriage. God sanctified marriage. God brought it together. So I don't see why we shouldn't have a conversation, because it's both of us coming together as one. We should have a conversation about what is our expectation. Even if you make up your mind to get married and closer to the date, because some people might not want to put their mind in certain places, fine. But you're coming closer to your marriage date and it's like, well, this is what, that is what, or you know what, you see what tonight, we're going to be tired. So I'm not even fighting with that. So you know the next day, or when we go on the honeymoon, we're going to take time and explore. Even a simple conversation like that. I said we're going to take a week honeymoon, and we're going to explore ourselves to see what we like, what we don't like, and you know, and what works, what doesn't work, and this kind of stuff. And to me, that is okay. Because now the wife will be like, no, don't do it like that. Right? Or this is the better position. I like this one here. That kind of thing. And that now would actually encourage expressing yourself there. Because the reality is that, and for men, if men cannot express themselves in that kind of way, they will look outside. Yeah.
Women too, you know.
If women to a point.
No, I think.
Right? When I say that, when I say women to a point.
I think society underplays the. I don't want to say the virulence, but society underplays how straightforward women and men are.
But that's what I'm saying.
Just
so that's what I'm
the
saying.
same level.
But the thing is that when it comes to that, you see, remember, it's personalities coming together. So it's not just me coming now. For example, the woman is the authoritative, demanding kind of woman. When it comes to every aspect of the life, that's what the woman, that is who she is. So that's not going to change because this act is happening. That's how she is. Now, if what the man is like, he can be authoritative in everything else. But you see, this is my territory. This is where I want to take control. This is where I want to rule. This is where I want to lead. And you're not giving the man that opportunity there. That is what I'm saying. You're not giving the man that opportunity there. He's going to go where he gets it. Because it's like, there was a show, and again, we're not justifying it, because I think we underpinning the idea of counseling and getting the necessary help that you need. I was watching a show where the guy went out, and then the woman is like, why you left? Why you leave? You're getting everything, da 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 da. And sad, and the guy is like, because she don't shout at me, she don't curse me, she don't make me feel like less than a man, da 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 da. Listing a whole list of other things, right? Of why. And for the woman's mindset is like, but I think I was being the best wife in the world. Not knowing that what you were doing is actually more hampering the marriage than actually building it up. And again, we're not saying that there's any justification for you to go outside. If you're in a marriage, get your stuff together and fix it.
So is that he was expecting that he would treat her,
he was expecting that she would be submissive in sex, but she is not submissive in other things. And that is where but he is really, I don't want to say he's to blame, but if you got married to that person, then you can't expect them to change.
I think some people are too easygoing in relationships.
They just think that as long as we love each other and it will work out. And relationships are hard.
But loving is work. Loving somebody is work.
Yeah.
It's not just saying that I love you. You actually have to put in the effort in that. So it's not just saying, well, yes, I love you, but then what?
And sex is a very important thing in marriage, as we've been saying whole night. And as Kun said, the conversations need to be real deep. And I don't know to what extent people are counseled before marriage. Because I know that there are certain topics that some people so pious and in their religious, mind that they shouldn't have certain conversations. I don't know if they bring it up at all. And I know there are just some persons who never go for counseling before marriage at all. So it's like, I don't know. So it's worrying. And I think that the church also plays a significant role in making the conversation about sex at a certain age too taboo. And we only talk about it in the context that we should abstain from it before marriage. But nobody talked. I don't hardly anybody talked. Well, probably we don't be privy to those.
You probably
I just saying.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
In general, your perspective.
Yeah, like I think God designed sex for so many reasons. I think more than just replicating after oneself is also a tool to bring each other together.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I really believe so, and I don't know. And for young people like myself, it's a scare. People getting divorced left, right, and center because they think not good in the marriage because of expectations, right? So then, how do you mitigate against that, right? That fear, you know?
Well, I'm gonna address the thing in marriage first, and then the fear. I think if you don't go into marriage, some persons, they go into marriage for better.
And not for worse.
And not for worse. And the truth about it is, they're gonna be, if you are honest with yourself and your spouse, there are gonna be some worse days before you get your best years.
Yeah.
Because as we said, it's two individuals, you're coming together in the same space. Before, you weren't in the same space. So you were only privy to a certain amount of information about the person. And if we know when you're living with your family, like your mother, father, sister, brother, and those things, you have different battles that you think there is conflict in the home. So imagine you are closely intimate with somebody, and then you see them do something that just, I don't want to say, it just angers you. And you're there and you're like, but how you could betray me? And that time, sometimes it's just a little thing, then sweep the place good enough. And you're like, but how you could do this? I give my life to you and this is how you're behaving? And we think that that is the end because they don't meet our expectations or what we deem as important. We're like, well, this can't work. And a lot of people get divorced. And something as important as sex, it's not no sweeping the ground or putting back a cap on a toothpaste. Sex is very important to human beings. As you say, it binds people together. And if that binding agent, which is really a closure to the binding, because you're supposed to be intimate in your emotions, in your you know, different aspects of your life supposed to be bound together for sex to actually work. Right? And sex is just the last thing, but people think it as the first.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of things that need to happen even before sex is enjoyable for persons. As Kern said, for virgins, you have to, for a married couple, you have to find out what you like, what I like, you know? And it takes time. Marriage takes to get people compatible with each other. I remember a speaker was saying, compatibility, you don't get compatibility at the jump. It's something that you grow and you grow, you know, and then you all become compatible. If your wife doesn't like this type of sex, then you learn to do it the different way, and then you all can do both ways. So that at the end of the day, she's satisfied, you're satisfied. But conversations need to be had, and there are many reasons. You can find plenty reasons to commit adultery.
But,
Plenty. But I want us to remember that you made a vow. And God said it's not just a physical act, but if you have intention that you're going out and you're saying, let me find a woman who could, you're talking sex, you know, your mind is completely, when you're with your spouse, your mind is on this person. Something is wrong with that. And that is where you have to go to God to ask him to show you, how can I maneuver this and ensure that I protect my home. And you said it, at the end of the day, it's all about protecting your home, because it's both of you all against the world.
But what about those persons who would have gone into marriage because Kern raised the concern before who gone into marriage and they have been through sex already, right? What about those persons who run the risk of committing adultery in marriage because of their high expectations based on their physical experiences? what do we say to those persons? One, do you believe that the church, right, speaks adequately to those persons to manage your expectations and so that they would have they'll be equipped mindfully that, you know, to mitigate against those things in marriage? Because the reason why I'm asking the question is because the truth is, come on, we preach, when pastors and people go on podiums to preach about this topic, they always preach from the perspective that, you know, you're going into marriage as virgins. That's not always the case, right? And when we were talking about the whole fornication thing earlier, why people just go outside and cheat and all them kind of things, what came to mind is that there are literally women and men who sit in their homes crying because they never had the sexual experience that they sought, virgins and non-virgins. How do we help these persons who did the act already and come in to the marriage with their expectations, especially if they marry a virgin?
Well, I think it starts with you, or it starts with us, because most of the times when you have a forum, the forum addresses general issues, the most popular issues.
Right.
And so people they send in their questions or whatever, and they address those issues. But if you never bring a different perspective cannot be shared.
Correct.
You know? So it's the youths. We have to, if we want to see it happen, we have to say, I think, you know, the counselor, when you invite the counselor, let us speak on, or let him speak on issues of persons who would have already lost their virginity. And you're trying to be on the straight and narrow path. You still want a fulfilling marriage. But what I must say, and they will speak to it,
Yeah.
but if they don't know that that is a major concern, because maybe the person who have the thing, they were virgins. So, you know, so they don't know this perspective. They don't know what these persons may be going through. But I must tell persons, if you have done it before, it's going to be very difficult. And you have to set a lot of boundaries. You know, you have to set a lot of boundaries because of what you would have experienced before. Because speaking to somebody who was a virgin, who was not a virgin and a teen, because you would have had experience, you know
What to expect.
yes. Well, you don't know what to expect, but you know what
Have an
you
idea.
like.
Yeah, right.
You know your preferences. And so when you get with somebody and they don't meet what your intention and what you would have expected, it's a bit off-putting. But you have to remind yourself that this is the person I gave my vow to, and we can work together. Marriage is growth.
Now, Sam says, and this is why the angle I would go, in creating me a clean heart, O Lord, and renew your right spirit within me, in that as Christians, realizing that you did wrong or you sinned because you had sex out of the context of what God originally planned it for, is now you're telling God, I want to do it the right way. So you of yourself have to make that commitment to yourself and to God that you want to do it the right way and you want to go the way that God ordained it to be. So that is why there is need for cleansing of yourself and this kind of stuff. Yes, it sounds very cliche, but you have to be intentional about it now.
Sexual rehabilitation.
All of that. You understand? You would have exposed, and then even now, even for whatever reason that you got married and your spouse never had any sexual experiences, whatever. So you would strive not to take your experiences into the marriage, but go into the marriage, because I've heard some people say that they are spiritual virgins again and these kind of stuff. Right? But we understand the concept, right? We understand the concept. You go into, so all of your expectations and these kind of stuff, you leave it there and you're going into the marriage with your spouse. The reality is that when it comes to this, right? And I was just looking at some statistics and this kind of stuff, and they said most of the people that cheat, especially in marriage, is because of their sexual expectations going into the marriage, and for those who had some kind of sexual experience before the marriage. So basically, right? Now this is not done by a Christian, right?
Generally.
But this is supporting that you should be virgins when you get married. The success rate is higher. Right? The success rate is higher. So this
Isn't it lovely
secular,
when science...
I'm telling you, supports the Bible.
Yes.
Right? Supports the Bible. But again, we know that there is still hope. Even though for some of us who would have gone down a particular road, there is still hope that we could get back on the straight and narrow, and God could direct us down the safe path.
Yes.
And that is where it's important for us to understand, because there are some people that believe that, boy, I've been so far down. Right?
Nobody would want to marry me and stuff
nobody
like
ain't gonna
that.
want to, and because I've been through,
Amen.
you understand me? And this kind of stuff. But they have to understand that God is there.
Yes.
God is still there with you to reconcile, to bring you back on the straight and narrow. Forgive you. Forget about what people that they think or people that they say. Forgive you, and you move on with Christ, and you're gonna be better off.
And for those who are in marriage and they are struggling, you know, sex is not what it you thought it would be, or the relationship on a whole is not what you thought it would be. I ask you to give it to God.
Amen.
Because
Hallelujah.
God can turn situations, He can give you hope. There is always hope. And it's not the end of your situation. It may be difficult, but it just means that you all have some difficult conversations to have.
That's
Amen.
right.
And don't be afraid to have difficult conversations.
Mhm.
Right? So it was a lovely discussion, a real
Definitely.
practical discussion
Yeah.
on entanglement. You know?
I enjoy the conversation.
Yeah. It was
It's
really-
always good to be amidst married people, you know.
Really?
It's good to be amidst.
All right.
You know, you preparing me. You know,
Yes, it's excellent. So, you know, we thank you all for being here with us. Thank those who would have sent their comments in the chat.
Yes.
I can call some
Nita
names:
P,
Shirley,
are you
Janet,
going?
Lee, Lionel, Lionel,
Mm.
Padge, Cumberbatch,
Okay.
Sherry, and Kern said Nita P. We thank you all for being on and for sharing your perspective. A happy Sabbath to everyone. It was lovely. But before we leave, I just want to inform you that ASI will be at Castara tomorrow. So
In
the
the
Sabbath
morning.
service will be at Castara for the Will Your Anchor Hold Gospel Explosion with Evangelist Roger Allen.
Right.
They will be starting at 10 a.m., not
Yes.
the regular 9 a.m. So tune in. But don't worry, I know you all have your notifications set so that you all will know exactly when they start streaming, and you can enjoy the service from Castara tomorrow.
Amen.
All right? Join us back next week.
Definitely.
Yes,
Definitely.
where we speak the truth. We speak real, we speak practical, you know, and we always speak God.
Amen.
So
Amen.
thank you all. We hope you have a lovely Sabbath experience, and may we see you all next week.
Yes. Bye.